How's it going, everyone? Welcome back to 603 Bass, also Real Northern Bass. And what we're going to do is a condensed version of our topic on deep jig fishing later in the season here, which is something we recently covered on our weekly live stream we do every Wednesday night called Real Northern Bass Talk. But what we're trying to do is give you a much more condensed version of the hour-and-a-half long show, so you don't have to sit through the whole thing and kind of get the meat and potatoes in one shorter version. Before we go any further, if you could do us a favor, please subscribe to the channel if you haven't yet. If you have, turn on post notifications, leave a like on it, and even a comment. All of that stuff helps us more than you know. Otherwise, let's get right into it.
For gear, we use both casting rods and spinning rods, but for casting rods, we like rods that are anywhere from 7.2 to 7.6, medium heavy, or even heavy. So the rods that we use are the Team Lose Signature Series rod, the Custom Speed Stick, and the Team Lose Custom Pro. And for the casting reels, we want something with a higher gear ratio to take up that slack and to be able to get the hook set out of up to, could be 65 feet of water. The Lose Hypermag, 8.3 to 1, Custom Pro 2nd Gen, 8.2 to 1, and the Custom Light, 7.5 to 1.
When it comes to our spinning rods, we still stick with Lose. We use two different models. Everything length and power-wise, we're going anywhere from 7 foot to 7 foot 2 inch, medium, heavy, fast. And the two rod models that we use most often for all of our spinning rod choices are the Lose Custom Speed Sticks and the Team Lose Custom Pro rods. When it comes to our spinning reel choices, we use one of three different models. We either use the Lose Hypermag, the Team Lose Custom Pro, or the Lose Mach 2.
Now, when it comes to talking cadence, from fall all the way to ice-in, 90% of the time, we're not doing any hopping, any popping, any of that. We're trying to keep straight bottom contact and just short drags. During the fall, my average drag for my jig, because I'm not popping it or anything, would be anywhere from, I'd say, 4 to 6, maybe 4 to 8 inches. Not fast, just really slow. The colder it gets, more often than not, we're going to be doing that same drag, roughly, but our pause becomes much longer. Right now in the fall, anywhere from, I'd say, 5 to 10 seconds, and the colder it gets, we have sat on a jig for up to a minute in between drags. Sometimes in the fall, though, the fish will bite it on the fall because they will be suspended. What can help with that, instead of long bombing your cast and just letting line out so the jig falls straight down, as soon as it hits the water, click your bail shut and let it pendulum down to the bottom. It just keeps the jig in the strike zone for a little bit longer. And the best producing jigs that we have found over the past few years would be the Beast Coast Max Feel, the Strike King Tour Grade, the Beast Coast Open Water Sniper, the Beast Coast Hustler.
As for our favorite jig trailers, when we're talking about deep water jig fishing, when we're talking about right now at this period of the year where the water temps are mid to upper 50s on these bigger, deeper lakes and steadily falling, our choices are going to start to drastically change every 5 to 7 degree shift in water temperature. Right now, where it's still relatively warm, you can get away with something very aggressive. The Strike King Rage Craw and the Beast Coast Flippin' Delight are our two favorite jig trailers to use if you want to go craw type trailer. Anything like a swim bait style trailer can also be really effective right now. As water temps continue to fall, now we're talking like very low 50s into the upper 40s, we're going to start picking jig trailers that have a moderate amount of action. Spider jig is about the only exception to this, but I'm going to pick things that are more, say, the net bait pack-a-crawl, where it has a little bit of fluttering action to the jig trailer, but not a ton. It's not as violent as, say, the Beast Coast Flippin' Delight or the Strike King Rage Crawl. And then as the water gets even colder from there, now we're talking mid to low 40s and colder, we're going to go with things that have minimal action on the fall to near dead action. So a Zoom Super Chunk Junior is one of our absolute go-tos. Berkeley Chigger Craw. You can, again, continue to do swim baits, too, because it's not always about the action, but also the profile. So you can mimic little bait fish on the bottom. Any of those trailers have been deadly consistent for us. You really can't go wrong for any of those. Just use that general rule of thumb right now, where you're talking mid to low 50s. You can get away with something a lot more lively, and as you get closer and closer to ice out, you want to continue to change your trailers to have less and less action until you get to that absolute dead action. When it comes to line on our casting setups, we prefer straight fluorocarbon for a whole number of reasons. Fluorocarbon has phenomenal abrasion resistance, and as we are in New England, there tends to be a lot of rocks, so I would prefer to use line that is best suited for that, and that's where fluorocarbon tends to shine. We've used 10, 12, 15, 17, even 20 pound straight fluorocarbon, and it has not seemed to make any difference no matter what line weight we're using. When you're fishing this late in the year, you're typically dealing with below freezing temps, which leads to ice buildup inside of your guides. Fluorocarbon tends to do a lot better in sliding through that ice buildup, which is helpful. Also, braid tends to retain a little bit of moisture and will slightly freeze, and that really inhibits your ability to cast far distances. So that's another benefit to going just straight fluorocarbon versus, say, braid to a leader. For those with spinning rod setups, you can still use straight fluorocarbon if you want. You will deal with a little bit more line memory. If you want to go braid to leader, I typically do 10 pound braid to 10 pound or even 12 or sometimes even 15 pound fluorocarbon on my leader. I try to go as light as I can in as many conditions as possible. But if we're fishing around rocks, I would rather go with a heavier line on my leader just so I have that little bit of added security against everything that down there that's trying to absolutely cause mayhem against me. But that's it. The really short version of everything we did on our much longer episode of Real Northern Bass Talk, talking about deep jigs. If you want more information on where we elaborate on every aspect of what we covered in this video, we implore you to go back and watch that whole video, as there's a lot more information we packed into a much longer episode. For those that are watching this for the first time, though, thank you very much. We appreciate you. If you could do us a favor, please subscribe, or at the very least, drop a like on the video, even a comment. Anything you can do to help us would be hugely appreciative. Thank you very much. We'll catch you guys in the next one.